Hey everybody, how you doing this evening? Oh, we got a big show for you, everyone. We have a monster show. And of course, we have AJ and just saying a big hello to everyone there. We're going to do a bit of a sound check here. I think we sound okay. And the time here is 7:29 here in China. And we're going to bring on AJ in just a moment. Big shout out to everyone who is watching the show today. Let's have a look who is commenting. Jim JT, thank you for joining. Of course, Maria, thank you for the compliments on the music. We enjoy that. And good morning to Hang, Frankie Boy, Zoom, Rolf. Oh, some well-known names here taking care of us this afternoon here. Okay, so we have a lot in store to talk about today. Hyperinflation is definitely one of the most important topics, and I think that is going to be a deal changer when it comes a deal breaker onto the financial markets. And also, we have to cover some Huawei news. Did I do some investigative reporting on that? But without further ado, of course, the guy that you've been waiting for, and me too. It's AJ on to the program. AJ, how are you?
Hey Alex, thanks for the great introduction as always. Yeah, I'm doing absolutely great. I just want to give a big shout out to all the moderators. There's Frank, there's Dark Cloud, there's Zuge, and checking if I missed anyone. No, I think that's it. That's it. And thanks for everyone that's tuned in. We're gonna have a great show for you today, as always. One of the members, I believe JM, has said me and you doing this weekly thing is the best thing that's happened over the past few months. Completely agree with you. I don't think there's any other channels out there that talk about China and the world like we do. Definitely a gap in the market. And I
Well,
think a
what a
few other
lovely comment.
yeah, and I think a few other people asking when does the Let's Talk China thing starts, because definitely a gap in the market, Alex. I don't think there's any other channels out there who specialize in China and also
Let,
specialize in world events as well. It's good to kind of bring it all together.
and the Let's Talk China show is not just going to be about China. Well, it's going to be everything about China, but everything about to do with geopolitics. Let me show you guys what my day looked like. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that there. Let's just maybe I'm going to zoom in. No, let me zoom out. Okay, and see if we can get this camera in a little bit closer, guys. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, that is the new studio in
Oh,
progress. Okay,
wow.
there's
Amazing.
cables, wires, you name it. 4 cameras, HD cameras, new sound setup. It's everything. Okay, and it's really big thanks to the iChungqing team for setting all that up and supporting my goals here to try to get the message out with China. Let's see here. We got some messages. I'm just going to bring on the screen here. Okay. This one here, of course. Thank you for that. Everybody smash the like button. AJ, tell me, how is the climate there in, I guess, London there? Also, the financial climate. What's going on? I'm hearing some dark news coming out after the
Yeah,
latest government thing. Let's hear about
yeah,
it.
that's right. That's right. In terms of the weather is starting to get very cold. I turned my heating on a couple of days ago for the first time, and I'm going to have it on today as well. So it's starting to get very cold. There's some
Okay.
very bad news when it comes to UK. The interest rate rise is they're gonna increase it by a huge percentage. I believe 3% points they're gonna increase it, which is gonna take it up to the highest point in more than 20 or 30 years, I believe. This is going to be a huge impact to people and businesses where they're going to have to pay extra £200 on top of the extra £400-500 with the past interest rate. So this is going to be a huge drag in the economy. Don't forget, a lot of businesses who have been borrowing money when the interest rates were zero, and they are going to be hugely affected. And also, a lot of businesses have to pay more corporate tax as well. Um, with the cost of living and cost of inflation, things are just getting really bad. And I can see the pound dropping today. Pound is seriously dropping. The stocks are dropping as well. Yeah, and it's not looking good, Alex. Not looking good at all.
Yeah, I was watching the markets, and as you guys know, I don't like to give financial advice just because I'm not a broker dealer or anything like that. But I am a derivatives trader privately for over 20 years, and I can tell you these markets are in trouble. Last night, when you heard the 3/4 point increase, and just hearing Powell talk about where he feels this market should be. Can you imagine that this guy is in charge of basically the U.S. economy? Let's be fair. I mean, it's not the president of the United States. This guy pretty much dictates what's going to happen with the U.S. economy. Now, I understand raising interest rates, trying to get inflation down, but at what cost are they doing this? They are doing it at mortgages that are being reset, as you say, debt in companies, banks. Banks are going to be to the wall on this. There's going to be foreclosures. Absolutely, there's going to be foreclosures. And I have never seen this type of rate increases. Can't remember I don't even know if it's possible that that happened. But these types of increases, they affect everything. And you should hear these guys. Well, and this is Powell yesterday. He's talking, the Fed, they come out with their announcement. And of course, it's followed up. I don't know if much of that you guys watch it, but it's followed up by a press conference after. And basically saying, well, okay, the economy is doing okay, but I think we better slow it down because prices are getting out of the way. So will probably affect the job market too. And yes, we're not happy with the leases that are being renewed, and we think rent should come down too. So let's get this straight: rental income comes down, property prices collapse, mortgage collapse, more housing starts collapse. I understand inflation, guys, but this is not going to be solved by continually slamming interest rates. You are going to push people to the wall. And we've just heard stuff about, student loan forgiveness, all that in the United States. Oh, can you imagine, AJ, you're a new student going into next year and you need to borrow a bit
Yeah,
of money? What are you going to borrow it at? What juicy double figure is
yeah.
your school or that student loan broker going to give you? You're right, AJ. It's not looking good out there. I'm looking at the pre-market here. The S&P futures are down another 0.75% going into trading. That is about 130 some points ripped off the S&P. And let me just give you guys some figures here. Okay, year to date, the S&P, where people, hedge funds, pensions funds, people's retirements, 401ks, well, you're down a juicy 21% year to date, and we still have another 2 calendar trading months. November, I just can't see that Santa rally happen. Can you, AJ?
No, no, I can't really. And you made a great point about students. Absolutely unbelievable. This is the future generation here, and they are being saddled with debt. And with children and with students, you need to give them the best start of life. They need to obviously finish their universities. They're starting their new life, and you want to give them the best head start. What is the point of giving them a head start when they are £100,000 in debt? These students are gonna, you know,
Hmm.
they're gonna have huge mental issues coming out of university with that much amount of debt, and they'll never be able to pay that off. And I think every year, as inflation rises and cost rises, they'll never be able to pay that off. I mean, I know people in their 40s in UK, they're still paying off their student debt. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's just a massive headache to the younger generation. And I'm just saying, maybe the West is not a good place to study anymore. And I'm just saying, I'm looking at countries such as China where the inflation is still 2.5. You have some of the best universities in the world, up and coming university as well. China's really improved in the education. That might be a real option for students around the world to come to the east rather than the west. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
You know, I,
Yeah.
I was going to echo, and let me add to, I want to add to this, AJ, because that's in a very, very good point there. And I have to add to this. guys, I've been here a year, and I'm not saying everything's perfect here in China, but let me tell you about the landscape here when it comes to, first of all, goods. Let's say you want to buy, I don't know, you go out to a basket of goods. We'll call it basket of goods, bread, eggs, milk, meats, all that kind of stuff. I haven't seen more than maybe, I might be exaggerating here, about a 5% increase in some of the costs on that. Okay, that's the first thing. Rents, in fact, have actually dropped here again. I was testing out the rental market here yesterday. And of course, looking at the rental market, if you have the financial means and you are fed up, or the government's trying to get their money on your cash with taxes. Now, people say, well, I'm retired. I'm kind of immune to taxes. Really not. If you're in the collective West, you're not. You've either gone provincial sales tax, federal tax, goods and services tax, VAT, value added tax, or so on and so forth. So everything you're buying, 1/5 of that or even a quarter of that goes to the government. Now, I'm not anti-government or anything like that, but when they're starting to take your money and times are getting really tough, you have to, think about what you want to do. If you're a retiree, some other places and maybe South America you might like, maybe the climate's good for you. Even Thailand has gone through a massive inflation in the last year here. But China, things are different. Let me spell it out to you guys here. Okay. And I am actually convinced, AJ, to really welcoming people that will move here in China. I think when the Chinese open their borders here, and we have rumors about this, that I think a lot of people are going to give China a second look. Now, people might think, that's funny. What are you talking about? Why would I live in China? Well, why would you live in China? Well, let me give you an idea of a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment, okay? A brand new 1 or 2-bedroom apartment, whether it's in the center, I'm using Chongqing as an example. Of course, people would say, but Shanghai is more expensive. It doesn't mean you have to live in Shanghai. If you want to have a decent life, safety, security, living well, good square meters, give you an example, Chongqing. Decent apartment, brand new, fully furnished in this city, $300 US a month, something like that. Internet bill charge yesterday I saw was about $12. Heating, electricity, probably about 50 or 60. And the food hasn't been inflated. Now, that might be a life that some people are happy with. Some people might want to go higher end. I went down and checked out the most luxurious development in the city here called Raffle City. One of the most luxurious prestige buildings. It's the icon. It's on all the postcards here in Chongqing. A building like that will set you back about $700 or $800 in a luxury condo unit, okay, with a pretty decent view. Now,
Wow, that's a
if
really
you
good
want to go,
price.
if you want to go cheaper, you can go under. You can go to $150 for a 1-bedroom, brand new, okay. And it comes down to this. It comes down to surviving through this. This is going to be tough times, guys. This is not going to be easy. This is going to be incredibly tough. And, I've told all my family about a year ago, stop upgrading your cars, guys. Stop, this silliness of depreciating assets. Lockdown, do what you can do. And what I mean by lockdown is lock down that spending. Why would you want to buy things that are inflated? Keep that car for an extra 1 year or 2 year, okay? I spoke with a fellow yesterday here. E-cars are huge here in China. And this is another thing that if you move here, you want to buy an electric car. There's electric cars everywhere. I'm in the city of cars, man. Chongqing is everywhere, okay? And the EC car, the EV cars here, I asked this guy, what do you pay for gas a month? He says, or not gas, sorry, to charge his car a month, it was about $100, $125. Now, compare that by mileage in the US and how much this guy drives. It's about $400 or $500 a month. Now you say, wow, it's just high gas prices. They'll come off soon. I don't think so. And these are things that I like these comments. Still not moving to China. This one's good. here's the good news with comments like this. We will, when we are on the Let's Talk China, we will have a switchboard and we will have numbers, whether they're 1-800 numbers that you can call into the show. And we would love to hear your feedback on why you wouldn't move to China. Fire away, AJ. I can go on all night about this. I'd love to hear your input.
Sure. You mentioned real estate, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of shocked by those prices actually. But
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of bring up real estate. I remember the 2008 financial crash. A lot of people in UK lost their homes, and it's the same in the US. They had lots of foreclosures. In US, they call it foreclosure. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of big businesses and rich people started buying up these homes for cheap. So when your property goes for foreclosure in UK, obviously they take your home away, and they put it in auctions, and it's
Devastating.
the same in the US. They put it in auctions, and these rich billionaires buy up these homes very cheap, very good prices. And this is how wealth transfer works. So you know this is how rich money, I mean, this is how the rich get richer, because they buy up all of these, cheap houses. Sometimes they get a 50% discount, sometimes 75% discount. I've seen foreclosures in the US with about almost like 80% discount.
Mm.
It gets really crazy. And these rich people buy up these properties and they rent them out, and they wait for the market to come back to speed again. 10 years later, 2018, 2019, suddenly the market's back, and these rich guys have got richer. The poor have got poorer. They've lost their homes. And the same thing is going to be happening in this cycle as well. But in this cycle, I can imagine it's going to be at least 10 times worse than 2008. I can imagine a lot of people losing their homes, a lot of poor people, middle class of people who can't afford to pay the mortgage, can't afford, and they will lose their homes. If you miss 3 payments in UK, the bank can take your home away, and that's the process. Obviously, they have to go through courts and stuff, but if you miss 3 payments, they start the process, and then it can take up to 6 months for you to lose your home. And the process is pretty straightforward. If you can't afford the mortgage, the banks will take it away, because as long as you're paying the mortgage, it's not your property, it's the bank's property. And they have perfect rights to do that. And the same in the US. And this is how wealth transfer goes on. This is how money from the poor and middle class moves on to the wealthy, and especially during hard economic times. And we're going to see a massive wealth movement this time. I just cannot see the poor or middle class be able to keep their homes over the next 6 months, Alex. And I can see the rich getting richer, the poor and the middle class just getting poorer. And this is the West I'm talking about. I mean,
Mm.
what's your thoughts? I mean, it doesn't look very good at all.
It doesn't look good, and I don't think there. I really like my country of Canada, but there's a but here, guys. When you see the government stumble, making mistakes over and over and over, and you have a shot to get out of the country, which I took over 26 years ago. Um, I never looked back. Yeah, it wasn't easy. I mean, it's always nice to maybe sit in your own country, speak your language. Those are the comforts of home. But you have to look about what you want in the future. Do you want to be continually stressed out about refinancing that mortgage? If mortgage rate's going to tick up, is inflation going to tick up? Can I take my kids on vacation? Will I have to visit the food shelter? There's a lot of people hurting out there, a lot of people. And we have to do what we can to try to at least, warn people that this is going to get worse. I would like to have wake up in the morning and see the beautiful sun and a nice rainbow and everybody's debts are all paid off. But this is recklessness that's happened. These are bad moves. I mean, not to get into the political part of everything, but what on earth was the United Kingdom thinking, managing a Brexit through a bloody COVID crisis? I mean, that has absolutely, and I know there's arguments on both sides here, guys. I know there's pro Brexit and people that wanted no Brexit. Okay, got to remember, my wife's Lithuanian. Her parents went up and worked in the United Kingdom. They were taxpayers in the UK. They paid their taxes. None of this giving stuff for free and all that stuff. Even I researched that and didn't really get a clear answer about all that. But about other people that have gone to that country, I rather doubt that many people have the intentions to get into the United Kingdom. And I'm talking about Europeans, first of all, that were allowed to at one time to get into the UK there, that they would move up to the UK to get small benefits in one of the most expensive parts of the United Kingdom with one of the harshest climates. That's not really, and people would say, well, Alex, you got to understand these Eastern European countries, they don't have much. Really? My wife was Lithuanian. Her life in Lithuania was pretty good. And as they came into the European Union, their lives all continued to improve. Whether they left home to work, came back, saved money. I mean, just ask your average Polish person. The Poles are very good at learning skills, adapting, integrating in communities all around the world. So this thing about Brexit is we're starting to see the impacts of businesses. And let me be realistic to how this has really crippled the economy. And AJ, you know where I'm going with this. It's danger time coming in the UK. If
Yep.
you're a business and you export in the United Kingdom, guess what? And your customers are in the European Union, get used to paperwork, get used to customs, immigration, export, documentation, trucks sitting at the port of entry and the port of exit for 1, 2, 7 days, late deliveries, customers, cancellations, everything. It's done. You guys are done. You're done. Whoever told you you're going to get a great trade deal was lying or has been kicked out of office.
Yep.
So sitting ducks in the United Kingdom, absolutely. Economy going down like a tornado? Yes. Look what your currency's doing. Look at your inflation. And all the other jobs that were needed to help the farmers out, all those labor laws change. They can't have seasonal workers. They have to, tender out. All these impacts, the fisheries, the clients, everything. You can't, I mean, if somebody would have stopped and thought about this for a moment, I mean, I had a business in the Channel Islands. It's just between the UK and France. We saw the writing on the walls years ago. We said, oh, this is trouble. I had a business there, import-export business there, and they had a trade agreement with the European Union called the Low-Value Consignment Relief. And we did great, 15 years. As soon as I heard Brexit coming in, you could just see, AJ, the paperwork that was coming into the small Channel Islands saying everything's changing. You have to adapt to the United Kingdom trade and commerce rules and import-export rules. Overnight, I said, we're done. It was one of the smartest things I did. Took my chips off the table, happily walked away from a profitable business at the time. But it would have been a SHIT show if I would have stayed there. Now all I'm hearing is people are like, hey, wait a minute. I used to be able to buy a package from a UK seller on Amazon, pay $2 shipping, and it would arrive in Europe in 1 or 2 days. That's right. When it's freedom of movement of goods, freedom of movement of people, and no custom checks. Well, you've just taken, and another thing, and this is just, sorry guys, this is just coming out of my mouth. Where are the parents? And I'm not saying the EU is the greatest place to be in right now because they're making some colossal mistakes. All I'm saying is, when you're in an SHIT show like this that's going on with these economies, it might be better to stick together with the group and try to maintain your currency, which they were allowed to do. They could monitor their own currency. But now what's happened is mom and dad has to wake up in the morning and tell those kids that have graduated from university, boy, little Jerry or little Jennifer, mom and dad voted that, at one time you could have easily worked in 27 or 28 countries in the European Union, but we voted and you can only work in one.
Yep.
How great is that passport now? And over to you, AJ. What are you guys feeling up there?
Yeah, I made a number of videos about this, and you're 100% right, Alex. When Brexit happened, I knew it was a bad idea, and I was one of the first to kind of shout out and say, "Do not do this." And you had MPs coming on TV and saying how good and great Brexit's going to be. They said they promised the people they're going to have cheaper electricity, they're going to have cheaper gas, they're going to have the inflation's going to be going down, British businesses are going to boom. They promised all of this stuff, and one of the main things they promised was they will stop migrants from coming in. And guess what? Since Brexit, migrants coming into UK has more than quadrupled, and I'm talking quadrupled.
Are we
How
talking? Are we talking migrants or immigrants? There's a difference here.
yeah,
Okay,
immigrants.
because
Sorry, yeah,
migrants we can say that, and I just want to be very clear about that. That
mm,
before the Brexit came in, there was equal movement of pretty much every nation in the United
yes,
Nations.
yes,
Pardon me, in the European Union that was allowed to go to a country pretty much paperless, walk into the UK, get a I guess an NHS number for medical, and AJ, you know all this clerical stuff, sign up and
yeah,
pretty much go to work Monday morning and everything's
yeah.
Bob's your uncle, right?
Exactly. So I'm talking about illegal immigrants, the ones
Right.
who are not supposed to be here, coming in on a boat and stuff. So that level has gone up 4 times, and
Mm.
it's a real strain because these immigrants have to be housed, they have to be fed, they have to be medically cared for, and all of that is taxpayers' money. And that's not the main problem. And like you said, with regards to the business, 100% right. Export businesses in Britain almost got destroyed overnight with Brexit. With all of this red tape, it wasn't really worth it for companies to do it anymore. Plus, they had to pay extra costs and stuff. So a lot of them moved across to the EU. If you are a business and your main market is the EU, you would make sense for you to move onto the EU, and
Mm.
that's when you had a huge out, outflow of companies moving out of the UK, and there were some huge companies moving out at the time. And I used to work for a company called EMA, used to be called European Medical Agency, and they used to have a
Mm.
massive office in Docklands, and they moved to Amsterdam, and then there was hundreds and thousands of companies moved over to the EU, and the ones that stayed in UK, they had reduced trade because of red tape, um, and a lot of them just shut down because it just wasn't worth it anymore. Now with the weak pound, the England cannot make use out of the weak pound, which means when you have a weak currency, your exports are cheaper, which means they are more competitive in the global market. So people want your products because they're very cheap. Unfortunately, our export market is completely dead because of Brexit. A lot of these companies have either moved to EU or stopped trading or doing a reduced service. So we are not taking advantage of the weak pound,
Mhm.
which is a real shame. We are still a huge import nation. We're importing goods from China. We're importing goods from United States, Europe even, and we're also importing a lot of raw materials, energy, fossil fuels, and stuff. And with the weak pound and the strong dollar, that means these imports are going to be more expensive. And but the main thing is, Alex, you have your neighbor, which is the EU. You have a huge market there with all of these countries. You had a free trade deal with every single country. You had no barriers, and you just have to look at the distance between UK and France across the Channel Tunnel. It's not very long. And when it comes to trading with your neighbor, it's cheap because obviously gas prices have gone up, petrol prices have gone up. So the transport costs are very cheap to, trade with your neighbor. It just makes perfect sense. It's the same way Taiwan and the mainland trade with each other because they're so close with each other. It just makes sense to have that, trade link. There is no point trading all the way to Australia, all the way to Japan. And this is what UK has done. They cut all the trade links with Europe and they added new trade links with Japan and Australia. You know, imagine the costs of shipping going all the way from UK to Australia. Imagine how long it's going to take. Imagine the costs because of the huge gas prices and petrol prices. And and now, if you look at the actual trade figures, there are zero companies trading between Australia and UK, zero companies trading between Japan and UK. There's literally no trade going on. There's no trade going on between the EU. So I don't understand what was the point of Brexit. I mean, illegal immigrants have gone up 4 times than compared to before, and you just have to look at the political side of things. Is UK politically different from the EU? Do they have a different policy against Russia, different policy against China? No, it's exactly the same. Whatever Ursula says, Britain does.
Yeah.
They're absolute puppets. So what is the point of breaking away from the EU when you're going to be politically, you're going to be exactly the same as the EU? You're still going to be told what to do by the United States, and still kind of under their thumb as puppets. You've just destroyed all of your trade links with the EU, and what is the point of all that? There is no point of Brexit. And like you said, during these tough times, it's much better for you to be joining a collective and working things out together rather than being by yourself in an island sinking, not knowing what to do.
Yeah, let
And
me
it
add to
was it was
that.
yeah, go on.
Let me add to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, sorry,
Go
go on.
ahead, AJ.
No, I just wanted to say it's been a huge mistake. And Boris Johnson was one of the main instigators of Brexit, and he was also premising how much great things Brexit has done. But there is not one single benefit. Nobody can say one benefit, that Brexit has brought. Not one. If somebody can come on the show now and tell me one benefit
Mhm.
Brexit has brought, then I'll gladly buy them a coffee right now. But you know, there is not one. And Boris has come in. He's destroyed it even more by destroying the financial market as well. You'll see a lot of financial markets moving on to the EU. Then they are not allowed. Things like
Yeah.
derivatives, and also insurance is also moving out of London. A lot of financial institutions are moving out of London. London used to be the number one financial capital of Europe, and now companies and financial institutes are going to Frankfurt, they're going to Paris, they're going to Milan, they're going to Amsterdam, and each city is now specialized in different areas as well. Like Amsterdam has taken a lot of financial companies from London. Frankfurt's doing the same, and you see. And now, the rise of China as well. Shanghai's taken up a lot of insurance from the London market as well. And yeah, I think London as a financial capital has gone out. And now with the pound crashing, it just makes no sense for London to be a financial capital anymore. You can see more people moving out, more companies moving out, more people moving away from the pound, people selling off their bonds, shares. And it's just going to get worse, Alex. It's just going to, this spiral or this domino effect is just going to keep going. Over to you.
I agree with pretty much everything you're saying there, AJ. I want people to understand that, we're not saying that UK should have never left the European Union because the European Union is perfect. The European Union is riddled with problems. Of course,
Yeah.
it's riddled with problems. But let's back up a bit and let's remember what transpired before there was any chat of Brexit. Well, you had a pretty good economy in the United Kingdom.
Yep.
I believe the pound was about 154 to 1 US dollar at the time, maybe even higher at sometimes.
Yep.
But hey, what would I know? I've only spent 20 years in Europe and married to an Eastern European as well. So what would we know? Well, what I know is when I traveled to the United Kingdom, you guys were not part of the Schengen Agreement. And what that meant is your borders were still protected. They were still protected in the way that a guy like me had to go to the border check, exit France or whatever country I was going to, exit that. And I had to basically show my passport, get into the country. I was asked how long I'm entering the country, how long for, vice versa. And then when I leave, I leave. Okay. Same can be said about Lithuanians, Romanians, many other countries that were traveling into the United Kingdom. There was border patrol stops. So if Brexit was about, I would say it was mostly surrounded about trying to keep or get our borders back. Well, then why didn't you guys hire another 5 or 10,000 people to protect those borders? Okay. It's not Spain's or France or anyone else's responsibility to stop people from jumping into the water that have nothing. And
Exactly.
second of all, some of these problems we created because we disabled some of these countries. I don't even want to get into what we've done to Libya and all that chaos that we've caused down there
Yeah.
or in the Middle East. Everyone say, well, we should protect our borders. All these people are coming in. Why are they coming in? You have to ask, first of all. Everybody says, oh, because they want a greater life. I think arriving with a bag, with a T-shirt, is one hell of a risk to try to get your life better. But when your country's been destabilized by the collective West, which what we're seeing, I'm
Yeah.
surprised. Like, where are the 20 million Russians that have fled Russia? Shouldn't they be pouring into Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania and Belarus, coming through the borders and pouring into Poland? No, because these people have common sense. They figured it out that this whole system's broken. Also, adding to the pre-Brexit thing. So, the United Kingdom, they had their own laws. Okay, yes, you have some European laws, of course. But the UK had their own laws, their own legal system, their own currency. Okay, their very own currency. All right. They are also, and I'll give you a little bit more to this, they had their own control of their borders. So, what did they really want? They wanted out of the European Union because they're concerned about the migrational people that are coming in that maybe help increase the population and maybe help the lower skill paying jobs. That could be one thing that maybe they were upset about. Let's see. What else could they be upset about? Could they be upset about, I don't know, no jobs? Do they want the jobs that some of the Eastern European countries were doing? Like cleaning factories, driving buses. Okay, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. The other thing that you have to look at is, what happened to that country? I mean, AJ, this used to be the beacon, the country that everybody wanted to move to. And then
Yep.
people got there and they said, wait a minute, the weather is, it's okay. But the price of everything has gone through the roof. How can I get a better life here? And that's what I was trying to say. I've had so many arguments with people, saying to me, oh, but, they make $5 they make $5 a month in Lithuania. Of course they would move. Have you ever been on a plane to Lithuania? Have you seen what that country looks like? It's safer. It's, I can say the women are amazing because I married one. I've been with her for 20 years, but I've been in that country as well. So this whole thing about, Brexit was going to bring massive brand new trade deals. I'm not saying that the European Union is the greatest thing for the United Kingdom to be in at all, but I'm saying that right now, this is a pretty volatile ship to navigate through the waters. And it would probably be in your best interest to stay with a market that was 300 or 400 million people that you were selling to, dropping off goods, enjoying cheap flights. And let's not forget, AJ, let's not forget, what is it? 800,000 people are living in the Costa del Sol down in Spain that are British down there as well. So isn't there migration going on from both sides? Where, yes, maybe the Eastern Europeans can get some jobs to work. And of course, they are highly intelligent, very educated people, that's for sure. and the Brits get great health care to relax in nice climate in down in Spain. Am I missing something here?
No, you're not missing anything, Alex. Exactly spot on. And a lot of these migrants who actually went to Spain, they're all coming back now because Spain has changed the rules. In order
Oh,
for you to stay in Spain, you gotta work and you gotta provide, help the economy. You gotta pay your taxes. A lot of them actually went there as retirees, so they don't really have jobs and stuff. So a lot of them are forced to come back, and because of Brexit. And the funny thing is, Alex, a lot of them voted for Brexit, and now they've been forced back into UK.
yeah,
Um, uh, when we talk about trade, you have to understand EU has already got loads of the best trade deals with the rest of the world, and
yep.
EU can negotiate a very good trade deal because you have a huge market, all of these countries. Um, and all of these trade deals around the world has already been negotiated. But what does Britain has to offer? So when Britain, as a new country, for example, goes off to Japan and said, oh, we want a free trade deal with you, Japan will look at UK and say, oh, what can you offer? What can you offer that the EU can't? Because the EU is a much bigger collective, so many countries in there, and it makes sense to have a good trade deal with the EU. But when the EU, when the UK come in, they're not going to have the same trade deals that the EU does. So this is why leaving the EU is such a bad idea, because you are not going to get the same level of trade deals as the EU, and the trade deals that the UK has with Japan and Australia are actually benefiting Japan and Australia more than benefiting the UK. And this is the thing. And also, United States has come back and said, we are not going to give you any free trade deals as well to the UK. And I remember back in the day, one of the arguments was, if they leave the EU as part of Brexit, they will have a free trade deal with the United States, and that was the major selling point. And now the United States is now coming around and saying, no, we cannot give you a free trade deal, free trade deal. And that's the problem, Alex. And you're 100% right about people in UK. People in UK do not want to work. They have a really high unemployment rates. There's supply chains issues because nobody wants to drive a truck. Nobody's working in farms and stuff like that. Before, they used to get very cheap labor from people, but now you don't have that cheap labor anymore. You have lots of illegal immigrants. And you're right, 100% right. I mean, all of these immigrants, if you look at what country they're coming from, this is all down to UK's foreign policy abroad. You all
Hmm.
started you all started from NATO bombing Yugoslavia. Then you had loads of Kosovans come in and from Bosnia and stuff like that. And then you had lots of Libyans coming in after they bombed Libya. Then you had
They just didn't bomb Yugoslavia. They absolutely obliterated it with
it,
78 days of aerial bombardment. More bombs were dropped in Yugoslavia than both Iraq wars combined. That and
yeah,
the NATO walked away and left that country disintegrated.
exactly.
Disgraceful.
And I remember when they bombed the Chinese embassy as well. I mean, what was the point of bombing the Chinese embassy? What was the point of that? I mean, absolutely disgusting, the stuff they used to get
Hmm.
away with. But at the time, China was still quite weak in the world, at the time. So, but if that happened today, imagine what China would have done if that happened today. They would not have
Hmm.
the guts to do that in this day and age. But yeah, you look at the chaos, they're causing around the world, Afghanistan, Iraq, you know, all the Middle East. This is where the migrants are coming from, and they are still coming, and they have no kind of answers for it. And now you have loads of migrants coming. I mean, immigrants coming from Ukraine, and Ukraine we know is going to be completely destroyed. People are leaving
Yeah,
the
it's
country, people are dying, and this winter is going to get really bad for them because Ukraine is going to get really cold. Ukraine geographically it gets very cold in that part of the world, and most of Kiev now has no electricity. There's no way of people keeping warm. There's a lot of people that are going to be freezing to death, Alex, and it's a real
Yeah,
shame.
it's
It's a real
I'm gonna
shame.
add to I'm gonna add to that,
Yeah.
and just to talk about what you're saying, the countries that are being disabled and stuff like that. Yeah, that Yugoslavian war, that really resonated in my mind to the point that I decided at much younger age, about 1 or 2 years after that war, to travel to that region. My father was in the Navy, and told me to get out there and educate myself instead of watching, Bill Clinton trying to cover up his affair and his potential being removed from office with that war. That he said, "Go out there, son, figure out what you think happened and come back." And when I went there and went to pretty much every region of and every square meter of the former Yugoslavia, uh, I was really upset, to see what NATO countries, including my own country, disgraceful what Canada did there. Absolutely furious of what I saw there. I came back. I started to talk to some of my friends and family about it, and they said, "What are you talking about? We saw this on the news." And no, 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 no. Clinton, I said, "Yeah, Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, that's all I'm going to say about that." But then there's other points that you have to try to really get into people's minds, and to stop this stereotyping of these countries. There's a beautiful country, Hungary, uh, magnificent country in Europe. Their leader is kind of breaking trend with the European Union right now. I like that. He's got some guts. He's great. But there's something else that I think people don't understand about certain countries, in the whether they're part of the Soviet Union or if they're part of the Eastern Bloc. When the Soviet Union collapsed, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, AJ, but when the Soviet Union collapsed, they had a credit system, and it worked along the lines of, okay, did people have a business? Did they own a bakery? Were they a policeman? Were they a fireman? How they contributed during the Soviet Union. They were given kind of a credit system. Now, a lot of these were bought up from the oligarchs, okay, and they bought a lot of the major companies like cement companies or oil and gas companies with these kind of like credits. They were little credits. But what you could do with this is you could also purchase your property. And what I noticed about Eastern Europeans, AJ, is when I moved there and met my wife in the early days of the European Union, I found out quickly that, holy moly, do a lot of Lithuanians own their own property? And I was told that the Eastern European countries are some of the countries that have even only single digit mortgages on their homes. Most of these people own their properties already. So when the Soviet Union collapsed, a lot of these people got their homes. Some of them even had summer homes. Now, some of them sold it off when there was, a rush to go into those countries, Bulgaria and, the other, Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania and all that. They went through a real estate boom as well, and property was climbing. Some of these cities are very picturesque and very beautiful. Estonia is especially a beautiful place. I had an apartment there for a good 10 years as well. And I started to recognize that, wait a minute, there's not a lot of mortgages going on here. What a head start to have in life if you inherited your grandma's city center apartment that you had to spend maybe $10,000 or $15,000 on new pipes, new wallpapers, and a balcony and a new mailbox, right? To have debt free. Now, sure, the earning wages were lower, but they were climbing, and they continue to climb. And the education system. So these European countries are no longer the whipping horses of the European Union anymore. Oh, no, no, no. That ship has sailed a long time ago. Um, the other thing that I want to point out, about this European Union and this Brexit thing, yeah, I would love to have someone come on this program and tell me how do things get better? Here's one example I can give you, AJ, that should pretty much throw a lot of water on this fire of Brexit was the way to go. People kept saying to me, well, we can buy our beef in Australia and we can buy our butter in New Zealand, and we got the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth, being part of the Commonwealth, I'm Canadian. I'm allegedly part of this Commonwealth that still I have to get into a second lineup at the airports when I'm coming into London. That's how great my Commonwealth passport, who we share Queens with in the United Kingdom, invites me into the country. I'm in the same lineup as the other passports guys. The other passports. That's a Canadian going into the United Kingdom. And I never understood that. But no, I never felt really, really welcome there, even though it's a lovely city. But let me get to my point. My point is the following, is that if you run a restaurant or a hotel in London and you were running out of wine, you needed wine, all you had to do is call Paris. Paris would throw a crate or two onto a truck. That truck takes the channel, cruises through there on the lorry, the next day delivery. Now, how's that working out for you guys? I mean, wow, we can get our wine from Australia. Oh yeah, the stuff that goes on the big truck, the big 40-foot containers that I don't know takes anywhere from 40 to 60 days. Oops, that used to cost $3,000 or $4,000 shipping end to end. That now a container that might cost 15 to 20,000. How's that working out for you? And all these countries that continue to sever these ties with China. I'm hearing the UK wants to sever ties with China. France, who said that they will supply Ukraine with electricity. Wait a minute. 2 months ago, it was the Ukraine saying they would supply France with electricity. What the hell is going on, guys? I mean, what's going on? What's going on?
I, I, before I continue, I just saw that news flash you made about Pakistan's
Yeah,
Imran Khan being shot
terrible
and
news.
wounded. And it's an absolute shame. And Pakistan is a country, again, you were talking about how US gets involved. You don't have to be blowing up a country to completely destabilize it. You can use a country like Pakistan, arm some rebels and stuff and put the country into chaos. And this is what's happened in Pakistan. They had a good prime minister, as in Imran Khan. He had really good relations with Russia. He had really good relations with China. And the US decided, no, we can't have that. We can't have somebody with good relations with China. We can't have someone with good relations with Russia. And we need to get rid of him. And they got rid of him. And now they're scared of him coming back into power and they're trying to get him shot. And it's absolutely unbelievable how the US is treating countries around the world and using their color revolutions and arming these rebels and terrorists. And Pakistan, my wife is from Pakistan. Even she's absolutely disgusted how Pakistan has been treated over the years. I mean, Pakistan at one point was one of the richest countries in Asia, richer than India. He had a GDP higher than India at one point, and it was very rich, really cosmopolitan. They had very good links to the West, and they were a very good ally of the West at the time. But now you just have to look at Pakistan. If you go to Pakistan, the whole country is absolutely in ruins, and it's down to corruption. It's down to the West putting sanctions on Pakistan. It's also down to lots of color revolutions and stuff. And China obviously tried to help Pakistan. They wanted to do this CPEC, Belt and Road CPEC link, and they wanted to use Gwadar as a port and send goods back and forth from China into Gwadar. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened as they planned. I think China spent over 63 billion on that project, and still to this day, it's not complete. I believe it's around 20% complete, which is really bad. And they wanted to use Pakistan as a launch pad, as an example of Belt and Road, to show the world how great Belt and Road can be. But unfortunately, so far, it has been lacking. And it's for a number of reasons, because the West does not want this Belt and Road to be successful. So they've been arming these armed terrorists in Balochistan, I believe, is a region which where the port of Gwadar goes through Balochistan into China, and they have these armed groups, and in there they've been killing Chinese citizens who go to Pakistan to work. They have been killing them in suicide bombs and bus bombs, and for that reason, China has stopped sending its workers to Pakistan. They've also stopped investing in Pakistan as well. And they see the political instability. They've seen how they've treated, Pakistan's Imran Khan, and they know that the current Prime Minister of Pakistan is an absolute puppet of the West. So they are not supporting him whatsoever. I believe he's due to come to China to kind of beg for some money and stuff. He's not going to get it. They know he's a puppet of the West, and that guy who runs Pakistan, he is probably more corrupt than Zelensky. He has got properties. He has got properties, millions, if not billions, in London. And before he became Prime Minister of Pakistan, he had a court case for corruption, and he was supposed to turn up in Pakistan to attend this court meeting. He didn't because he said he had health issues. And suddenly, they got rid of Imran Khan, and suddenly he doesn't have any health issues. He comes flying into Pakistan and takes on this role as PM. And his main role is to get as much money as he can from China and destroy these projects even more. And he's been doing it. People don't understand. He's been doing it on the sly. He's been stopping a lot of these projects. He's been taking a lot of money from these projects. Personally, the corruption is back in Pakistan, and I believe China knows this, and they're not going to give him any more money because of that. And it's a shame how, these corrupt politicians are absolutely destroying Pakistan, really, and it's all down to the West, and and Pakistan will never improve unless they get rid of this corruption problem, and this Belt and Road CPEC project will not finish until they get rid of these corrupt politicians as well. And a lot of the money which was meant for the BRI got siphoned off as well. So there's a lot of problems in Pakistan, and now they've had this flooding, which made it even worse. And the whole world raised 10 million or something for Pakistan, and then you compare that to Ukraine, where over 100 billion was raised for Ukraine, and you just you see the difference here. The world, they do not care about the Asians, the West, but when it comes to Ukraine or Europeans, the whole world will give them much money as they can. But when it comes to Asia, when it comes to Pakistan or Muslims, they do not care. And also, Alex, there are still a lot of brainwashed people in Pakistan who still want to be part of the West, and I believe this is a lot down to brainwashing. But what has the West ever done for Pakistan? And it's a real shame. I just hope that Pakistan improves. I hope Imran Khan improves. I hope I mean, it is a massive danger for him in Pakistan, because Pakistan is not a safe place. If you speak the truth, if you stand for something, then you are in danger. And the same thing happened to a previous Pakistan as well. That she got shot. I believe it's Benazir Bhutto or something. She got shot and killed, and she was doing some great things for Pakistan at the time as well. Unfortunately, the West cannot stand any leader who's doing the right thing, and he was doing the right thing. He was building ties with China, building ties with Russia, signing up for energy from Russia, cheap energy pipelines from Russia. He was signing up for all of that. But no, the West did not want that. So they got rid of him. And now they're trying to get rid of him completely by killing him. And it's a shame. It's a shame, Alex. So we'll talk a bit about hyperinflation about US as well, but I'll let you have your say.
A lot of these countries are really showing their true colors. Nasty, absolutely nasty. Here's a map great map from a group called the Young Europeans. Just wanted to show you guys this map that, geography changes. conflicts happen. Nations are embattled with nations. And we shouldn't be surprised that the world is turbulent, especially in this economic downfall that's going on. I think more is going to happen. I don't know what nations are going to have conflicts or, bring more conflicts to the collective West, but America's involved in Haiti now. But let me tell you a story for all the viewers here that maybe you guys aren't too familiar with. A few years back, Meng Wanzhou, who was one of the top executives and the eighth richest person in China, I believe, she was a top executive at Huawei. And I was following this case a lot, and I was doing a lot of investigative work on it. And I did a lot of freedom of information from the Canadian government, requesting pretty much on a weekly basis documentations about this case. I also did, and spent a good part of 3 or 4 months digging deep into the case, reading all the documents, all the litigation lawsuits that the Americans had. This was quite a disturbing story. And what's come to light lately is the tactics that the Americans used to try to crush Huawei. Okay, they have really hurt this company. And what they tried to do has come to light here. It's pretty remarkable in the latest Wall Street Journal story. But President Xi, Donald Trump were sitting at the table together, and one of Donald Trump's members of his team, I'm not going to get into names yet because I'm going to bring this out into a full video, basically said, yeah, we arrested, we got Huawei's executive arrested in jail in Canada. And even Trump wasn't even informed about this. And I think that's the demise of probably his administration, is that he had a lot of idiots around him. There's no denying that a lot of lies took place. Legal search and seizures took place of this executive. Of course, China warned, said there's a couple of people that could be arrested. Then they got arrested. Now, a few of you might think, China was playing kind of like a hostage diplomacy thing. But let's look at why she was detained. She was detained because on really trumped up BS charges. And remember, you can get arrested in the United States just for thinking of doing a crime. That good old word, conspiracy to commit. Conspiracy to commit fraud, conspiracy to money launder, just by, So they got her on a trumped up charge, no pun intended, who was running the administration at the time, arrested in Canada by our Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who went past the gray zone, brought her through immigration, brought her onto the soil of Canada, because she was just going in the transfer area, which is pretty much no man's land or a gray area. But they managed to coerce her to come in and basically put her foot on Canadian soil. They took her computer and all her assets, shared her information to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Even the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said, "Oh, sorry, ma'am, we're just doing this on the request of the Americans." Well, how stupid was Trudeau in this case? Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't vote for the guy because I've been out of Canada for 26 years. But this guy had the power of allowing her to go back to China. And probably in return, the two Michaels would have been released a lot earlier. So what did the Chinese do in this case? First of all, she wasn't backing down. Come hell or high water, no, she wasn't going to admit to anything. She felt that what she did in the company was perfectly legal, legit, signed, sealed, and delivered. So as we get heavier into this, the Chinese started to get acquainted with Canadian rules and regulations. And Justin Trudeau was caught in the middle of probably one of the most catastrophic things that he could have as a prime minister of a country. Pissing off China, watching the canola sales of his farmers in Western Canada get obliterated for sanctions being put on there. So as Canada cried and screamed like a little baby, it let the United States, good sound effect, AJ. It let the sound effects. It let the Americans sit back and dictate what things were happening. So here's the problem. The Chinese continued to, as I said, get more comfortable with understanding Canadian rules, regulations. So they tried to get a meeting with Trudeau and President Xi. Wasn't happening. Even at the G20, wasn't happening. Okay? And here's the beautiful point. Trudeau was passing papers off. Oh, what can you do? Can you help? Can we help? Can we do this? Can you help? Can you please? Can you please bring these 2 microsomes? Even though I'm detaining a lady who's an executive of a company, not just because she's got, wealth. That's not about that. Where is the rule of law that happened in my country? Where is this search and seizure that's happened? Okay. Why did a lady spend years in house arrest when she should have been allowed to be out on bail? But no. This also happened to a very wealthy executive in a French insurance company, and I'll get to that in a moment. But here's how clever the Chinese are. They said, sorry, Mr. Trudeau, you're just the Prime Minister of Canada. If we want to get into a more serious conversation about these 2 Michaels, the 2 Michaels were the Canadians being held in prison in China, and they were trying to get them home to Canada and Meng back to China. Well, one of the executives in the high government in China said, Mr. Trudeau, unfortunately, you're just the prime minister. If we want to get to the bottom of this, we'll go to the real person in charge, and that's the Queen. And that was a little bit of an embarrassment because they immediately followed that up by saying, wait a minute. In the Canadian laws, the prime minister has the ability to stop extradition. So, Justin, what are you talking about? United States, in the 11th hour, decided to put an agreement together that said, we'll let her go, but she's got to admit fault. Oh, no. Not happening. Didn't want the deal. Forget it. Not happening. Let's take it to court. Let's go to court. And this shows you the power that the U.S. government had. Even their own Department of Justice didn't even update the President of the United States at the time. Okay? The Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo is an absolute idiot. Sorry if you like the guy. I think he's a joke. But the way that Canada handled that, China stood up for this person. And I think China will stand up for most people. And it's incredible that a Canadian government where we have allegedly sovereign nation of Canada can buckle that easy to the Americans. Just shows you, my fellow 37 million Canadians out there, look out. Apparently, you can be extradited because of a bloody PowerPoint presentation. That's all they had for evidence. Don't believe me? Go check it out. Department of Justice, put in Huawei executive and see what they put in there for discovery. An old PowerPoint presentation talking about company structures that even the Department of Justice had to get legal advice on because they didn't even understand it. These Keystone cops in Canada were an absolute joke, spending people's, and thank God. And you know what this woman did? Meng Wanzhou. She spent millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And yes, you guys are going to say, but she has the money. She has great lawyers. She spent millions of dollars to set a precedent for us as individuals that the next time that America tries to pull this crap, there's an outcome on the books there with laws. There's something that people can refer back to, and they can use what she has done to fight, and they can use it in legal cases against the Americans when they try to do this. And I'm not anti-American, guys. Remember, I've told you guys many a times, I was one of those young guys at 18 years old that went down to the United States, wanted to live the American dream and all that, but things have changed. Maybe got a little bit older and educated myself a little bit more about what's going on down there or in my own country, but heavily, heavily disappointed in my legal system, heavily disappointed in the government system, and I should be. I mean, watching a company collapse from afar is an incredible thing to do. I can't imagine living in somewhere that's collapsing. AJ.
Yeah, I followed the Huawei incidents for a while as well, and it's one of the reasons I got into geopolitics because I had a Huawei phone at the time, and then suddenly Great Britain decided to kick out Huawei because of American influence. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? So I just decided to do my own research, and I found out this is all total BS. And you talk about Canada, but I'll talk about UK and what they've done to themselves. Uh, UK had done all necessary checks. They've done all the audits as well, and they found no problems with Huawei at the time. They done dozens of audits. There was no issues. And then Boris comes along, and Trump calls Boris and like, you need to get rid of Huawei. Just do it now. And Boris is like, oh, hang on a second. We've already invested hundreds of billions. We can't just get rid of them. And Trump is like, oh, get rid of it now. I don't want to hear anything. And Boris said, okay, I'll get rid of them. So he kicked out Huawei. And Huawei was in the middle of doing UK's 5G installation. So they already did like 70, 80% of it. And they got kicked out. And now Britain has now 10 years behind because there's nobody else who has come in to do 5G. There's nothing. I mean, there is companies here, but I wouldn't call them 5G. This is more like 4.1G or something. This is not true 5G. It is costing Britain up to 300 billion, basically. So the money is going on to, number one, they have to take down all of the Huawei equipment, masks. They have to take out down,
Infrastructure.
yeah, and it's not cheap to take them down. You gotta, block the road. You gotta do planning permission, and you gotta, there's a lot of long process. And still to this day, they are still taking down Huawei masks. They got to replace them with another company, Ericsson, or maybe
Yeah.
a different company, which is like
Nokia.
Nokia,
And
which is
and
not
and,
real.
and
Yeah,
what are they
not
doing
real.
with the AJ? What are they doing with the 3G Huawei networks that are still working there?
Exactly,
They're
that's
still
still
keeping
there.
those.
It's still there. The 3G one's still there, and yeah, the Nokia ones and Ericsson ones are they're about 4 times more expensive, and
Mm-hmm.
also they are not true 5G because the real 5G speeds, we're talking about 100 times more than 4G. So that is true 5G. When you go to China, you can actually see real 5G,
Right.
and you can really experience it. We're talking about 1 gigabyte per second,
Yeah.
in transmission, but but they're calling it 5G, but it's not real 5G. It's 4.1G, which is about 10%
Let me
faster than 4G. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
let me just get this out of the way here.
Yeah.
And I spent about 4 months researching this legally and talking. I even had one of the immigration lawyers and criminal defense lawyers on a couple of my live streams for this Hmong trial. This is one thing I want to bring up to JD here. He says it was Huawei's PowerPoint that they also had bank statements denoting wire fraud. Now, let's just remember who they're talking about when they're talking about wire fraud. First of all, there was no court that said that there was wire fraud. It was an allegation by the Department of Justice that said wire fraud due to what? Due to the US sanctions on Iran. Remember, this is the United States saying that if we sanction Iran, and you don't follow those sanctions, well, we'll get you on wire fraud, even though it's another country, another company, another business. Let's say she even did do that, or one of the people at the bank. This is the bank's responsibility. This is HSBC, and let's not let HSBC off the hook so fast here. Anybody remember the massive litigation that HSBC went through years ago? Almost collapsed the bank, fined for billions of dollars. These guys had connections to the Mexican cartel. This guy, these are the companies that are telling about Huawei client to the Department of the Justice. These are the guys that should be trusted. You mean these guys really that said in their settlement for billions of dollars with the Department of Justice, will cooperate and help you in any way possible? For the foreseeable future, Department of Justice will be subservient to you. So this thing about a PowerPoint and bank statements, oh, and wait a minute, not one person from HSBC in this massive litigation way before this Huawei fiasco went to jail. How many went to jail in the 2008 financial crisis? No one. How many people were put in house arrest for 3 years? No one. How many were threatened to be extradited for this kind of stuff? No one. So don't give me this stuff about it was Huawei's PowerPoint and bank statements and wire fraud. Wire fraud to who? If United States tomorrow morning says that, okay, we can't trade with Burkina Faso because we put sanctions on their, I don't know, their oil. And if you get caught selling their oil, we're going to put you in jail. BS. BS. U.S. courts don't trump the world, and enough of that. Let me see if he's just got any more follow-up comments, because I'd like to just, okay, so DOJ arrested several people from interfering with the investigation. Okay, arrests. Where are the criminal prosecutions? Someone in jail on that? Let me know. Update me with that one. Okay, go on, AJ. Let's hit some other stuff here.
Yeah, so let's move on actually. Yeah, I was going to say how Britain has been equally stupid in kicking out Huawei, and still to this day they're suffering. Imagine going behind 10 years not having 5G, and what 5G benefits you can bring. And I made a video about Facebook yesterday, and you can see how badly this metaverse graphics
Ooh.
are and things like that. That in itself is down to 5G as well, because when you can transfer 1 gig per second, you can improve your graphics, you can improve that metaverse. There's so much they can't do with it with 4G. Unless you have 5G, there's a lot of technologies you can't do. You can't do things like remote operations. You can't do remote mining, remote auto, autonomic cars which drive by themselves. There's a lot of benefits that 5G brings, and also AI as well, artificial intelligence, quantum computing. 5G brings so many benefits, and and the UK and the US as well is now falling behind, especially UK, falling behind 10 years because they don't have true 5G, and they're going behind. They're basically tagging along compared to Asia. Asia has still kept its 5G. Most of Asia has. Germany has even got Huawei 5G. France has got Huawei 5G. So the idiots are the UK, really. UK are the idiots. If France has been able to keep Huawei 5G, Germany has been able to keep it, most of Europe has been able to keep it. Why did UK kick them out and put themselves in a really bad state? It just doesn't make any
It's
sense.
incredible. And what's funny is that people feel that, oh, my phone, I've got a Huawei phone, it's being tracked. What you guys thought? I mean, AJ, when people get you hear these sound bites, they're like, oh, I can't believe I have a Chinese phone. I'm being tracked. What do you think Google's doing every
Yeah,
20 seconds? They're
Facebook has been
pinging your
tracking
phone.
people. Yeah, Facebook has
You're
been
part.
tracking people for
You're
years.
you're part of the Play Store. You're part of the NSA. Welcome to the club. The club has
Yeah,
its privileges. The good thing is if you lost your way home or you got lost in the forest, Google knows where the hell you are.
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, enough of this nonsense about people going on and on and on about being
Y-
tracked and my privacy. Privacy went out the window a long
Yeah,
time ago,
yeah,
guys.
Yeah, my
We've
friends actually work in the law department, and they are telling me the amount of prosecutions they've had, basically by taking away people's phones and tracking their movements and checking their privacy and seeing what they've been up to. You know, the amount of prosecutions that have been made because of their people's phones is unbelievable. You don't even need their phone. You can just track. Google will be able to give you all of that information to the prosecution and say, all
yeah.
right, this person's GPS was on, this person was here during this day at this time, and they would easily link you to the crime. People that say, privacy, no way, no way. You go to court, and trust me, in the court of law, these lawyers, the first thing they will do is check your phone. You don't even have to have your phone with you. They can just phone up your
Yeah.
phone company, or they can phone up Apple or Facebook, any of these tech companies. Say, can you um, confirm where this person was at this day, this time, and say, oh, he was here. But
You
that's
know,
it. You're done.
I had a BlackBerry for the longest time, as long as I could, until, unfortunately, the demise of the BlackBerry. But I also had a guy say to me, even if you took the battery out of the phone, that's not enough. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, do you understand that a lot of these phones have backup power to the battery? And I said, okay, go into detail. And then a lot of the old phones that you could take the back off and pull the battery out.
Mm.
And he says, well, how do you think they remember all the phone numbers and all the data that's still in that phone? I said, what are you talking about? He says, there's another battery inside there. And that battery, even if you've pulled out the full battery, we'll call it, there's still a small battery powering that phone to keep its memory, to keep your phone numbers, to keep that index, and also to keep that SIM, IESM, or I can't
Yeah.
remember the exact name, but they got you. And when people tell me, oh, my privacy, I'm scared, I don't want to do a QR code privacy. What are you talking about? Look what happened to the truckers in Canada, and the people that donated. Their bank accounts got seized in 48 hours. How
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
seize Canadian bank accounts when they've made a contribution to a crowdfunding website located in the United States? How do you do that? CSIS, the Canadian government, sends net letters down, proceeds of crime, terrorism. Give us, it's terrorism. Give us the information. We gotta call up Mrs. Ochmonic, who has, $1,300 in the bank, and seize it. We gotta do that because it's for the safety of the country. Look it up, Google it, guys. Look at how many people donated to the trucker rally in the United States from Canada and had their bank account seized. Sorry, ma'am, you don't have access to your fund. Why is that? Because you donated $10 to the trucker rally. Oh, but how did they find out about my account? It wasn't us. Well, who was it then? Can you imagine that? What a bunch of BS, man. Don't give
I
me
mean,
any of this crap, guys, that say that that's privacy. I care about my privacy.
and guess what? Liz Truss has recently said that her phone has been compromised, and
Yeah.
there are people listening, and they found out her text message to Blinken. Does Liz Truss have a Chinese phone? No, she's got a bloody iPhone. So don't tell me this is all just Chinese phone. She's got an iPhone. So how the hell did they manage to get all that information? Please explain it to me.
I mean, this stuff is just laughable. If I continue to hear this stuff, there's cameras, Alex. There's cameras out in the street. Really? Is there really cameras out on the street in China? Like, okay. Oh, but they're gonna watch you walk home. Okay, are they? If somebody wants to watch this Canadian go out, spend a day on video cameras, hell, that would make a great bloody movie. But those cameras on those streets, I can tell you one thing. If something happens to someone, they're going to get caught. These cameras work. They're not, and of course, there are some guys that I think they're there for more of a deterrent, which it works. But then there's a lot of these guys you can see. I think in one of the guys that is watching today our video, he actually made a video about showing CCTV cameras in China, and he was kind of overlooking a guy. But let's be honest here. These cameras are pretty much put up there for the safety of people, to also movement of traffic, to see if something's wrong. They're connected by 5G. No, it doesn't creep me out. No, I don't get worried about it. because it doesn't bother me, it doesn't affect me. Now, if I was a gangster or I was selling drugs or I was doing something bad, you get caught. Could ladies of the night walk the streets in Chongqing? No, it's not going to happen. That kind of trade doesn't happen. Having currencies, most currencies being paid electronically has pretty much evaporated all the bad stuff that can go on. And that's why I'm saying I just don't get this thing where people are trying to inflict fear into you Westerners that you got your privacy. You don't. You don't. You don't have your privacy. Sure, there's nobody probably looking in your window at night, but if the government wants to know everything, if you try to be a non-dom or non-resident of a country and you say, well, I've lived outside of the UK for 186 days, they'll call your phone records in. If it's the tax department, they got to just say, okay, where's this guy's phone been? Oh, it's been in the UK. Oh, well, you lied to us. Conspiracy to commit tax fraud, all this stuff. I mean, it's an absolute joke. So I hope we can see past this. And it's crazy. We're pulling out the 5G networks because we're worried about China tapping into us. What about the 4Gs? You guys got 4Gs. It's riddled in Huawei stuff all over the place there in the UK. It's everywhere
Yeah.
in Canada. So if you're ripping out the 5Gs, put the 4Gs on while you're at it. And hey, you know what? If you want to buy a bunch of cheap 5G stuff, there's going to be lots of stuff for sale soon because China's going to be moving to 6G. So get going, guys. I mean, I just can't believe how easily indoctrinated people are about this. But they watch everything. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around this social scoring system that is allegedly here. Where is it? Where do I sign up for it? Can somebody come on this show and tell me how I get on the social credit system here in China? What office do I go to? What
Alex,
form do I fill out?
I was
Go
watching this
ahead, AJ.
show about social credit stuff in China, and basically it was about this guy who couldn't book train tickets, and he kept going rejected and he kept saying it's because of his social credit. But guess what? He was trying to book the train during COVID lockdowns. Obviously, of course, it's gonna not be able to book any tickets. So I saw this. So basically, I saw this guy basically debunking it, saying, "Oh, he was trying to book it during COVID lockdowns because you can see on his phone the date he was doing it, and you just have to Google the date on the Chinese calendar. You can see that was the date when the city was in lockdown, and he was trying to get out of the city." And he
let's
couldn't book it. He
let's
kept blaming the social credit system.
so let's say there is a credit system here, okay? I bet you it's probably if there is, okay. I'm gonna ask somebody tomorrow about it because the last time I always ask some of my Chinese colleagues about this stuff, they look at me and they go, "What? Like, what are you talking about, Alex?" And I go, "No, but." So I'm gonna try to keep a straight face tomorrow, and I'm gonna say to somebody, "Can you help me out with the credit system here?" Now they're gonna say, "You need a credit card," and I'll say, "Well, is that connected to the credit system?" And they said, "Well, okay, yeah, sure. Maybe a criminal record might be a part of the credit system." And if it is, it's a pretty good system. Okay. It's just like if you were a criminal in Canada and you tried to go into the United States, that record is probably shared with the Americans, vice versa. So is that a system? Is that a social credit system? I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because I haven't seen. And in China, China's pretty open with their stuff. You go past a police station, it's just to the police department and the Bureau of China. Okay. Shouldn't there be a massive big building that says you're here at the social credit system, and you go in there and you should be able to sign up? Find it for me, somebody. Find it. Love to see it. Yeah.
And another thing, Alex, a lot of viewers don't know that one of the reasons why Huawei got kicked out from United States and Britain is because Huawei refused to add a backdoor to their network. And
Yeah.
this is one of the things that the US government does. They want a backdoor to everything. They want a backdoor to crypto. They want a backdoor to 5G, to 4G. They want a backdoor. If you're a tech company, they want a backdoor to your database. They want control in everything. And one of the reasons they kicked out Huawei is Huawei refused. They said, no, we're not going to give you any backdoors. We're not going to allow you any access. And the United States said to them, right, if you don't give us access, we're going to make sure, you you do not, do anything in our soil. And that's what they did. They kicked them out because Huawei refused to give them any backdoor access. So that, that's the thing. You got to understand how the United States and the world works. If you try and do something good, if they cannot control you, you're the bad guy, and they'll kick you out. They'll try and discredit you. But if you go along with the US, you give them all the access you need, you give them all the control that you'll be a good friend. They'll let you go into their market, and that's how the world works. Works the same way with countries. It works the same way with people. Works the same way with companies. It's just how they work.
I mean, it's I don't know. It's just crazy. I'm going to play this video for you guys. I don't know if you guys have seen it before, but we played it. I think we're due for one more shot at this. This just gives you guys an idea of how ridiculous, you know, the peddling, the propaganda that's coming out of these nations. I don't know this morning if you guys know that CBC Canada has not renewed the visas of its reporters here in China. Good riddance, CBC. You're a crown corporation. You're owned by the Canadian government. If you can't behave on Canadian soil, then get the hell out of here. Pardon me. If you can't behave on Chinese soil and be respectful, then yeah, you deserve to see the door. And that's I think they're done. I think they're done here. Maybe somebody can verify that story, but I did see a tweet come up about that. Here we go. We've got this video that I want to bring up to you guys, and I'm going to play it. I think this is a little bit of comedy hour for us. Okay, a little bit of comedy, not comedy hour, but comedy minute. I love the music too.
70th U.S. Secretary of State, and now chairman of the advisory board of the new center. As you can imagine, there's a lot more job security in this gig than the one in my last one. And the coffee here is a lot better than it was at Fox Bottom as well. Our goal with these videos is pretty simple: to talk directly to the Chinese people about U.S.-China relations. And that's what we'll start doing with this series over the next few months. And then we'll keep it up. There's a reason we're doing this. The Chinese Communist Party doesn't represent the Chinese people. It's that simple. The CCP is a one-party, totalitarian, political organization committed to a foreign, anti-Chinese ideology. It started out as a group of brutal, radical extremists. And frankly, not much has changed.
Now let's look at this for a moment. I'm pretty concerned here, AJ. I think that, maybe he's doing this under duress, because it looks to me like he's reading from a script.
Yeah, he's
And I'm
definitely reading from the
I'm
script.
concerned for Mr. Pompeo's safety here, because these words don't sound genuine. It's very, very creepy, isn't it? Let's continue to listen.
The worst mass murder in history was Mao. His victims, mostly Chinese. The same is true of Deng Xiaoping, who murdered pro-democracy protesters in Tiananmen
This guy
Square.
is an absolute
Xi Jinping
joke.
continues that communist legacy even today.
So
Yeah.
what
No
would
bigger enemy for the CCP than you, the Chinese people.
So I just had to show that again. If there's any doubt in my mind that some of these administrations that are run in America are run by absolute idiots, all you got to do is continue to watch that a few times. That's the most ridiculous thing. And now that guy is on the sanction list. And we've said this before, AJ. The reason why he's peddling cheap YouTube videos and working for institutes like that do hit pieces on China is because most Fortune 500 companies are connected to China in some way, some form or fashion, and he can't work for them because he is sanctioned. Nice
Yep.
one there, Mr. Pompeo. I can't even call him Mr. Pompeo. The guy's a jackass. He's a jackass.
Yeah,
He's an idiot.
we have somebody similar in UK called Ian Duncan Smith, and he's also in the sanctions list. And he every time China pops up, he pops up his head from somewhere and said, "Oh, China bad," and he's exactly doing the same sort of ridiculousness.
Didn't he party at Gordon Chang's house?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah, he did.
so here's
Oh,
an interesting tweet I want to bring up, and then we'll get into what you have to say there, AJ. One
yeah,
second. I
sure.
just want to bring this tweet up. This is getting a bit of traction here on Twitter. You guys can pretty much read it for yourself there, or I can have a quick read for you guys. Heard that reopening committee has been formed and led by Wang Huning, and it goes into details talking about it. Now, these are just rumors and speculation, okay? A lot of rumors and speculation. And here's another tweet here from the CBC. It says, sadly, CBC closing its China bureau after 40 years in Beijing. In the 5 years this individual was there, official roadblocks made it increasingly difficult to report, and Beijing unresponsive in granting new visas to the CBC. Still being there remains the best way to tell China's story. Hope will return. Is it? Are you telling Trudeau's story, or are you telling China's story? You know what? Some of these guys that are in media today, I mean, they deserve this. They deserve, to get either punted out of a country, or they deserve to lose their job. They're peddling such BS propaganda, such fake stuff for the last, I don't know how many years. And they're crying, and then they're upset even at Elon Musk, and they're using his platform to whine about it. Too bad, guys. Hit the bricks, pal. Beat it, because you are going out. You and your organizations are toast. Their history. The real reporters are the guys like Patrick Lancasters, guys like the Duran that are reporting, and of course, my good friend here, AJ. What do you think of this news? With the potential opening here in China. What's
Yeah,
your
I think it's
thoughts?
great. I think it's great news, and I think the Hong Kong market is rallying from what I heard as
Mm-hmm.
well, and it's going to be absolute great news. I mean, not lot of people realize this, but I did apply for a visa for China this year, and it got rejected because it was closed, and so it kind of messed up my plans a bit. But yeah, I really can't wait. I think this is going to be once China opens up, you can see the GDP rise. People are going to be coming in, and the companies are going to be coming in investments going to shoot up. There's going to be a lot of students coming in, a lot of visitors coming in, tourists, and I can imagine China's GDP just shooting up, going through the roof, and yeah, it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. I think a lot of people don't realize that China has been closed for the past couple of years, and their GDP figures are based on the country being closed. So imagine what it would be like if it was open. I think that GDP is going to shoot up. And so they've been pretty much running the economy with their hands tied behind their backs. China have, and I can imagine there's a lot of people who want to visit China, want to kind of see what China's done with infrastructure, and China's changed a lot. When I was there, I think I was there like more than 10 years ago. It was still lot of parts of China were still poor and undeveloped, but 10 years is a long time in China. Some cities. Which one developed now shining beacons like Shenzhen, things like that. A couple 20 years ago, that was a fishing village, and now look at it. So 10 years is a long time in China. So I can't wait to kind of visit China again, and I'm sure a lot of people around the world want to go there and see for themselves how China has changed over the years, and what China can. They want to see the high-speed rails. They want to go and travel around and see things. I'm pretty sure once your border opens up, tourists go there, they spend money, and that obviously helps bring income to the country as well. And businesses go in, businesses open up in China. People, factories start popping up because you're open. That means you can go in and out of China whenever you want, and things. It's going to be a lot of great benefits to China, and it's going to definitely shoot up its GDP.
I don't know if you guys heard yesterday that Rumble was subpoenaed by the French government to pull off RT and a few other news agencies off the platform in France. And Rumble just said, screw it. We'll actually pull out of our platform out of France. And well, you're at it. Get ready for a court case. I mean, who do these people think they are? They think, okay, yeah, let's try to shut down let's try to shut down RT. Let's try to shut down this. I mean, people it's modern day book burning. I mean, it's not going to happen, guys. Not going to happen.
Exactly. I mean, they call themselves a democracy, but what the hell are they doing? I mean, this is worse than any dictatorships. I mean, this is completely stamping down on free speech and ability to speak two sides of a story. This is how the government want to control the people. They do not want them to know the truth. But Alex, I wanted to talk about the hyperinflation stuff because I think we got that in our title. So obviously we need to kind of talk about that. And I made a video a couple of days ago how a lot of countries around the world are dumping the dollar. China and Russia's been doing it for years. And now recently, Japan has been dumping dollar like crazy. Japan has got has got the second largest debt, dollar debts, and they have been dumping those dollars like crazy. And South Korea has been doing it as well, and all of United States allies like Israel and stuff. And I've read some good news that China. The reason countries need to keep the dollar is because they need the dollar to buy goods, right? They need to buy it. They need to buy oil. They need to buy gas because of the petrodollar. If they buy it from Saudi Arabia, they got to buy it in dollars. So you got to be able to keep that much dollars in your bank account. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to buy oil and gas. But one of the things that China has been buying mostly is iron ore from Australia, and that used to be bought in dollars. And China buys a huge amount of iron ore from Australia, huge amount, because you've seen the amount of development goes on in China. They're building high-speed rails, they're building ships, they're building, new skyscrapers almost like weekly. So they need a lot of iron ore. So this is one of the reasons Australia has been rich, because China has been buying a lot of iron ore from them. And previously, until now, they have been buying iron ore in US dollars. And suddenly, a couple of days ago, Australia has been also dumping the dollars. And now they have agreed to sell iron ore in Chinese yuan, which is a great news for China and great news for the world, which means a couple of things. Number one, China does not need to hold as much dollars anymore because they are buying a lot of gas and oil from Russia, from Iran. And now iron ore, they can buy it in yuan as well. They don't have to buy that in dollars. Agricultural goods, China's buying it from other countries. But that are in the Belt and Road Scheme. They're buying it from Russia as well. So agricultural goods, every year they're buying it less and less from the United States. Also, China's agricultural sector has improved leaps and bounds last like 2-3 years. They've gone up mainly because of the southern to northern water diversion scheme. So what this scheme has done is added a lot more farm fields, ability for farmers to have access to water for their farms. So that's brought up a lot of benefits to China of the past maybe 5 years. And so they need less agricultural goods. This means that they do not have to hold as much dollars like they did before. And so China's dumping the dollars, and all the rest of the world is dumping the dollars, and mainly because they want to save their own currency. The dollar is now becoming too strong, and it's destroying every country's own currency. The yen is pretty much near collapse. UK's pound is near collapse. The EU is near collapse as well. So they have no choice but to dump the dollar, and the whole world is doing that. And where do you think, Alex, all of this dollar will go back to? Where do you think it's going to end up? It's going to end up in the U.S. economy. It's going to end up in the U.S. shores, and this is what's going to cause hyperinflation, and it's going to happen in the next few months. And if all of these countries start continuing to dump in the dollar, it's going to make things worse. And you're talking about interest rate hikes. I used to do a lot of economics as well. I know a lot about economics. If you want to combat inflation, you got to raise your interest to the same level of inflation. So if your inflation is 10%, you have got to have interest rates at 10%. If your inflation is at 20%, you got to raise your interest rates at 20%. Imagine them raising interest rates to that amount. Imagine the harm that would cause the economy. And they cannot raise it to that amount. It's impossible, because that's not even counting the true inflation. The true inflation has been hidden. In UK, it's 10%, but everybody knows it's about 30%. That's the true inflation. There is no way they can increase their interest rates to that amount. So inflation, unfortunately, inflation is going to carry on rising. There's going to be a lot more dollars swimming around in the United States, and that's going to bring up prices even more. The goods, the shipping is going to be going up. You've seen the gas prices, electricity prices are shooting up. Oil prices are still high. Gas prices are still high around the world. So transport's going to be high as well. Obviously, the war in Ukraine has also got something to do with it as well. But you can see the inflation is going to keep going up. They're not going to be able to stop it, and this is where hyperinflation comes in. And hyperinflation is something. You have inflation, but hyperinflation is basically your currency is just going crazy. Instead of, for example, instead of £1 to buy a loaf of bread, it's going to be £100, for example. That's what you call hyperinflation. And I can see that happening over the next few years in the United States, because the United States has been printing a lot of dollars, and they had a free reign to print dollars because they've gone out of the gold standard and they've been printing dollars for free because of the petrodollar and stuff. But once Saudi Arabia joins the BRICS, once Saudi Arabia agrees to sell its oil in other currencies, and that's going to be the end of the dollar, and you will see hyperinflation shooting up in the United States. And what will that cause? What that will cause? It'll cause riots.
Yeah.
There's already clips. I mean, I watch a lot of American news channels just for a laugh, but also to see what's happening in the United States as well. Crime has gone through the roof in California, in other places, San Francisco, in other major cities as well. There's CCTV cameras of people running into supermarkets, grabbing what they can and running out. And it's happening all over the United States. Imagine if this hyperinflation goes larger and higher. Imagine what that would cause. It would just cause mayhem. There'll be riots in the streets like they've never seen before. When people get hungry, when people get desperate, they will do anything. And unfortunately, with the amount of debt that United States has got, with the high interest rates, they're going to have to pay more in debt. All of these dollars swimming around, going back into the United States because all these countries are dumping them. It's going to get even worse for them, and it's just going to go through the roof, Alex. It's not looking good. I can see probably around January, February when things are going to get really bad over there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been always a big fan of Peter Schiff's program. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him, but I've been watching him for just under 20 years. He predicted the housing crash that happened in 2006 and 2007. He was laughed at on national television over and over and over again. Laughed at, humiliated as he was coming on these programs, and he was screaming to the high heavens that this guy's it's gonna collapse. It's gonna collapse. No one believed him. He was right. He nailed it. There's a little bit of a montage here that they have of him making predictions and actually have showing him being mocked on television. I'm going to play it for you guys. And what he's been saying lately is been coming true about inflation. He nailed it again. But let's have a listen to what the talking heads of these financial shows were telling Peter Schiff at the time.
And former economic advisor to President Reagan. And Peter Schiff, he's president of Euro Pacific Capital. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Peter,
I want to start with you. You can hear
Although there are more and more people saying that the U.S. economy will be in a recession next year, it is still a minority position. Why do you think that a recession
Boy,
is
this
coming?
sounds
Just
familiar.
how bad is it going to be?
I think it's going to be pretty bad. And whether it starts in 07 or 8, I think is immaterial. And I also think it's going to last not just for quarters, but for years. See, the basic problem with the U.S. economy is we have too much consumption and borrowing and not enough production and savings. And what's going to happen is the American consumer is basically going to stop consuming and start rebuilding his savings, especially when he sees his home equity evaporate. And when you have the economy 70% consumption, you can't address those imbalances without a recession. You know, rather than the recession being resisted, it should really be embraced, because the disease is all this debt-financed consumption. The cure is that we stop consuming and start saving and producing again, and that's a recession. And sometimes, you know, medicine tastes bad, but you got to swallow it.
Art Laffer, you hear him? He says the consumer is going to slow down in order to rebuild the savings. And you know that 2/3 of the American economy is driven by the consumer. Do you believe that?
No, I don't believe any of it whatsoever, Michelle. Excuse me. But, you know, what he's saying is that savings is way down in this country, but wealth has risen dramatically. The United States economy has never been better shape. There is no tax increase coming in the next couple of years. Monetary policy is spectacular. We have freer trade than ever before. And not only that, but there are no incomes policies things here. I think Peter's just totally off base, and I don't think it's going to be. I mean, I just don't know where he's getting his stuff.
Well, one of us is off base, but it's definitely not me. I mean, it's not wealth that's increased in the last few years. We haven't increased our productive capacity. All that's increased is the paper values of our stocks and real estate. But that's not real wealth, no more than the Nasdaq was wealth. When you see the stock market come down and the real estate bubble burst, all that phony wealth is going to evaporate. And all that's going to be left is all the debt that we accumulated to foreigners.
Peter, I'm going to take a bet with you on this one. I'll bet you a penny on this one that if you'll sign a letter saying that if you're wrong, you'll sign a letter that you were wrong to me in this, but you're just way off base. There is nothing out there that tells us we're going to have a nice slowdown, but it's not going to be a crash.
Let me ask you this.
I'll bet you a lot more than a penny.
Big question. Will homes be worth more or less in 2007? Tom, what do you think?
You're going to see prices go up about 10%. Here's why. Because you're going to come into a regular, normal market, and a regular, normal market, that's about what kind of appreciation you get.
Home prices up 10% in the coming year. Peter, what do you say?
Well, today's home prices are completely unsustainable. They were bid up to these artificial heights by a combination of temporarily low adjustable rate mortgage payments, by a complete, absence of any lending standards, and by speculative buying. And what's going to happen in 2007 is a lot of these artificially low ARM payments are going to be reset upward. You're going to start to see both the government and the lenders reimposing lending standards and tightening up on credit. And you're going to see a lot of the speculative buyers turn into sellers. And these sky-high real estate prices are going to come crashing back down to earth.
First of all, I have no idea what Peter Schiff is talking about. I agree with Tom. I think they're going to be probably up to about 10%. What artificial lending standard are you talking about?
What's word to Peter?
And there you go. I mean, it's pretty clear. Peter knows his stuff, and in fact, that somebody actually mentioned in the comments about this that I wanted to bring up on the program, that they actually did an investigation. The Department of Justice and many other tax authorities tried to once again alleged that Peter committed fraud, conspiracy charges. And mostly everything was dropped. But what it did is it destroyed his bank's reputation and his bank. And basically, the bank, to my understanding, had to close. And this was orchestrated. Peter has been a very, and here we go here, ad hoc put it there. They attacked Schiff and seized his bank. In fact, they pretty much ran him out of town. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear anything bad. I can't believe that people can look at the financial markets. We're looking at it pre-trading today at a 37.32 S&P handle. That is not good news. When you take 20% out of the financial market, we are talking a lot of money. Here's something that I'm going to bring up on the screen here. This is for AJ to comment. Since we're talking about inflation and currencies and stuff, AJ predicted this a few weeks back here on the program. Once again here, the British pound sinks 2% against the dollar after Bank of England recession warning. Are we surprised?
Exactly. Pound has been continuously falling since I've made my prediction, and you're welcome to go to Google and see the pound falling against the dollar since then. It's going to continue to fall even more, unfortunately, Alex. There's not going to be an end point. I think it's just going to continue to fall. Britain is done as a financial institute. The pound is done. It's all based on debt. The debt to GDP ratio is gone over 100%, which means the amount of money that UK makes all goes out basically on paying off the debt. So you can't use that money for normal services like NHS and things like that. So they have to borrow more money to pay these things off, and it's just a cycle. And there's going to come a time when it's all going to come crashing down, and the time looks like it's going to be happening now. So,
there's something I want to bring on this program. The viewers are keeping me sharp today, that's for sure. Where is the guy's name here? Zoran. I said Peter Schiff. I don't think Peter has made this prediction that BTC is going to zero in any time frame. If you have, please send me that story because I would like to see where Peter Schiff said it was going to zero. Let's say, did he say by 2022 or did he say eventually going to zero? Okay, that's curious. I just want to see that because I watch a lot of Peter's things. So if you could share that story with people in the sidebar, and then I can bring it on here and we can have a read about it, that would be great.
I think Bitcoin has crashed. If you look at the last few years, Bitcoin has crashed tremendously. A lot of people have lost a lot of money in Bitcoin. I don't think it will. I don't think it will ever go to zero because it is still a trading company. People are still using Bitcoin.
Well, it's not really a company, AJ.
Yeah,
Who's the CEO, CFO, CEO, and COO.
Yeah, that's right.
If you said, ladies and gentlemen, can I have the CEO, CFO, COO come up to the stage for Bitcoin? Who would show up on the stage?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but
I mean, it's an interesting idea.
I don't think it will go to zero. Yeah, I don't think it will go to zero because
I wouldn't make it.
Using it.
I'm not that kind of guy that makes those predictions, but here's something that Peter Schiff did, and this is why the guy has a credible name. Everybody,
and you have to understand to make these bitcoins, you need a lot of energy. So every time you create a bitcoin, you mine a bitcoin, the next bitcoin becomes so much harder to mine, and the world, this is why Bitcoin is crashing, because you need a lot of energy for it, and a lot of countries cannot afford to put all of this energy into Bitcoin mining. This is one of the reasons why China got rid of Bitcoin mining, because it was causing too much fossil fuel usage, pollution, and there's going to come a time when it's going to cost too much energy to make that one Bitcoin, and it's just not going to be worth it anymore. So they're going to come up with something else.
Here we go. Zoran says to follow his tweets, you will see it. He has stated it over and over that he eventually thinks it's going to go to zero. Well, if you were a follower of Peter Schiff, you will know that he had a debate back in, I believe it was about 4 months ago, with a very, very, very well-known crypto, we'll call it bank, whatever you want to call it, called Celsius. Okay, Celsius. Now, here I'm going to play something for you guys. And this happened. Yes, Peter Schiff had a nice debate with the, I believe he was, the guy's name was Mashinsky's. Okay, anyway, you guys can listen to it, and then I'll tell you how the story, well, yeah, I think I'll bring it up here on the screen so you guys can watch it. Okay. It's interesting. I think it's important that we watch this kind of stuff because you guys will see what I mean. A lot of sharks out there. Okay, here we go. Let's get this going. And can't wait till we get some help with these programs. But okay. During the November 2021 debate with Celsius founder Alex Mashinsky, not only does Mashinsky claim that gold has no value, that Bitcoin is bad form of payment, that there is no difference between the dollar, gold, or Bitcoin, deny that there is a lot of leverage in Bitcoin, while at the same time encouraging the average person to take debt to buy it. But he's basically admits he's running a Ponzi scheme. Well, if you watch the program, you'll see that Peter Schiff.
Peter, let me ask you this. You're so convinced that Bitcoin is going to inevitably land up at zero. So what do you think triggers this crash to zero, especially as we point out that more and more people are adopting Bitcoin? What is going to make all of these people change their mind and dump it and lead it to completely crumbling to zero? What's going to happen?
Well, I think all that has to happen is it really loses its momentum. I think maybe some of the institutional players, there's not that many that have come in, but some have come in to the extent that they decide to get out, that, you know, the trade isn't working out for them. I mean, look, Bitcoin got up to 60,000 back, I think it was in April of this year. And basically that's where it is right now. I mean, it hasn't really made any additional.
It made a new all-time high.
Oh, yeah, but it sold off. I mean, right now we're about 60,000. We're a little bit below where we were.
As do most assets. Hit a new all-time high, dropped. Balances potentially hit another one.
Are you moderating this, or are you just here to tout Bitcoin too? Is that your main goal of Bitcoin?
I'm here to play both sides.
I'm making a point here. You don't need to argue with me. My point is
highlighting the price facts, Peter.
Yeah,
go ahead and make
I
your
know
point.
that. I know that. But let me finish making my point. You're the moderator.
Go ahead.
All right?
I know, and I will continue to do so. But
yes,
finish your
I know,
point.
but
I can make my own case, no problem. I don't need help.
You're clearly biased, and I get that. You're part of the shills out there that are trying to get people to buy Bitcoin. You probably have a bunch of Bitcoin advertisers. And my point is, we've had an unprecedented amount of money spent advertising Bitcoin. I mean, every time I turn on financial television, all I see, one commercial after another, highly produced, very slick Madison Avenue campaign trying to get people to buy Bitcoin or some other crypto. All of this push, massive amounts of money spent, all kinds of retail people getting sucked in, and the price hasn't gone up. So what that tells me is that there's massive distribution going on. The stronger hands that got in early have been pumping this market up, and they are gradually unloading their digital tokens to the public. They're spending all this money to con people into buying what they want to sell. And yeah, you have some people that have Johnny come lately that have been attracted by the greed, which always happens at tops of every bubble. Some of the people who were negative early on throw in the towel, they capitulate. They need to get in on it because they've missed so much action. And you get some people that come in, and that's happened. But the momentum is going to drop. Bitcoin is going to crack. Maybe once it gets back down below 20,000, you'll have a lot more selling coming in. I think a lot of people have taken out loans against their Bitcoin, which they hadn't been able to do in the past. So you have a leverage bet now among the hodlers.
So I'm going to just forward it a little bit and let you listen to Majinski's here. And I'm going to tell you guys why Peter Schiff was so passionate here. This was a while ago when Bitcoin was at 60,000 on the show. It did drop below 20,000 recently. But I just want to let you listen to this guy here for a bit.
Again, I'm not talking hypotheticals, right? I mean, again, we have 1.5 million customers. Like you said, they hold over $25 billion worth of digital currencies, mostly Bitcoin. And when I give you facts, these are facts.
Did you hear that figure? AJ, did you hear that figure? I don't know. AJ's muted his microphone. I'm going to play this back for you guys. And
yeah, I've heard it. I was just listening. Yep.
Did you hear the figure? How much did he say?
Yeah. I can't remember now, but I did hear the figure.
Let's go back. I want you guys to hear this one more time.
Against their Bitcoin trades. And as we know, when that happens, it can cause a collapse very, very quickly and very, very suddenly. So what's your answer to that, Alex?
Well, again, I'm not talking hypotheticals, right? I mean, again, we have 1.5 million customers. Like you said, they hold over $25 billion.
How many customers?
1.5 million.
Right. How much do they hold?
I didn't hear that bit.
Okay, let's do it one more time for everybody. Yeah. Everybody, we can have a listen here.
Are a lot of people there that have taken out a lot of leverage against their Bitcoin trades. And as we know, when that happens, it can cause a collapse very, very quickly and very, very suddenly. So what's your answer to that, Alex?
Well, again, I'm not talking hypotheticals, right? I mean, again, we have 1.5 million customers. Like you said, they hold over $25 billion worth of.
Okay, 1.5 million customers.
Yeah. 25 billion.
Holding $25 billion, okay? Now, for all those people out there that didn't wait to the end of this, Zoran, this is for you, okay? Because I thought that maybe you would like to maybe explain to our audience about this character that is on the screen there. The wonderful, the amazing guy behind his company that has 1.5 million customers and 25 billion in assets. 4 months after that interview, Celsius creditors and lawyers looking into whether the firm was a Ponzi scheme cannot find the money. It's gone. All of it has gone. 1.5 million clients have been locked out of their accounts. It's done. It's over. And it was predicted by Peter Schiff. The bankrupt crypto lender Celsius is under more scrutiny over fresh allegations of running a Ponzi scheme. 1.5 million people. This is an unregulated market. Okay. It's great if you got in early and great if you're making money on it. But you have to understand that guys like Peter Schiff understand rules and regulations. They are governed by the Security and Exchange Commission that tries to do its part. But this is a crypto market that is unregulated. $25 billion, 1.5 million customers wiped off. This isn't the first time. You can just go into some of these other news stories. Google the Ponzi schemes in cryptocurrency. This is what irritates me about the crypto market. It's the amount of thieving that has gone on. Sure, I've traded crypto before. I bought and sold cryptocurrency. I think it's interesting. People say, "Oh, yeah, it's great. You can use it to buy things." I will adopt to cryptocurrency the moment that I can walk out these doors and use it in a store from my phone without much of a price fluctuation. Unfortunately, I've been waiting for that for years to actually use it. Now, the countries that have tried to use it have been failing. Okay.
Alex, you got to understand why crypto was invented. It was basically invented for drug pushers and drug users to basically do secure transactions online so they can buy and sell drugs without it being traced. And a lot of, obviously black market stuff, weapons, and that was the reason why crypto was invented, because of the dark side of things. But since then, the government has been clamping down on all of that stuff, and a lot of people have been losing money. For example, the darknet sites who people are paying to buy drugs, suddenly overnight they would close down and they would steal all of that money. So all of that has been clamping down recently, and I think that's another major problem. And if you cannot,
they're all over the place, AJ.
Yeah, the FBI
Mount Gox is on here. The latest Korean guy that is on the run, Do Kwon, he's $2 billion there. I mean, I don't need to read the latest story. There's thieving going on everywhere, Zoran.
Yeah.
It's great. Sam Bankman-Fried has taken Celsius out of bankruptcy. Nice try. Not happening. It's just not happening, guys. And I think one thing that irritates me the most is these real get rich quick things. I mean, it's not about the idea that I have the problem with. Look at Google and YouTube's latest quarterly results. Did you know they missed on some of their earnings, AJ?
Yeah, I haven't.
And some of it was lower advertising on crypto.
Yeah.
The advertising's coming to you. Yeah, Zoran, I invite you onto the show when you can tell me that all those 25 billion and 1.5 million customers have been made whole. And what I mean by that is dollar for dollar. I'm not talking giving a new coin to represent a non-intrinsic value to those customers. I can guarantee you now, if you talk about things you understand, not things you don't you understand, that's great. I challenge you to actually start up a live stream and keep it open to the 1.5 million people and promise them that they're going to get all their money back. And then I will admit, of course, I'm totally wrong here on the program, that if I've made a colossal mistake, that $25 billion has been evaporated from clients' accounts that have been locked out and 1.5 billion people. Yeah, nice try. Not happening. Okay, go ahead, AJ.
No, that I completely agree with you, Alex. But I think it is a long conversation to have about crypto, and I'm sure a lot of people have their own inputs they want to put into it, and yeah, I do see that some people have made money from it, and I mean do have friends that have made money from it,
Sure.
but I've seen a lot more people lose their money. I've seen a lot more people become bankrupt, and a lot more people stealing it, because you got to understand it's unregulated. If you lose your money, that's it. There's no
Yeah.
hope of you getting it back. There's nobody out there to help you. Nobody, no authorities, no lawyers going to help you. So it is a big risk. It's a big risk.
But once again, it's these things that drive these markets, drive people to try to get higher money on their yields. And then they walk into things like this. Okay, these comments about you don't understand, you don't understand. You know how many times I've heard that? I mean, sorry to toot my horn here, guys, but I've been trading these financial markets for 25 years. I spent 20 years in Monte Carlo, okay, with some of the most sophisticated bankers, individuals, derivative traders, stock traders, you name it, okay? And when most of these guys are telling me, yeah, you could probably make a quick buck on that and move on. Sorry, when they say, but you know what? It's pretty unregulated, and a lot of people get hurt. And there's reasons why they use terms rug pulled, huh? Try pulling a rug on people's savings in any bank in any country in the world. You're going to jail. I mean, I don't even know why this guy is allowed out of jail. He is, and they've managed to sucker 1.5 million people to be in it. I'm not anti cryptocurrency or anti this or that. I'm anti seeing people get ripped off. And I don't have to say, use too many examples. There's a reason why Peter Schiff was on that program. He predicted to his entire audience that they are going to lose their money. And 1.5 million people just said, guess what? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Really? Whose camp would you much rather be in right now? The camp that listened to Peter and took his money out, or the camp that's still waiting for this company that is burning hundreds of millions of dollars to try get it out of bankruptcy of depositors' money to try to make whole? What camp would you much rather be in? And I'm not, like I said, it's not about me being against cryptocurrency or the blockchain or anything like that. I totally understand how these work. I totally understand how some of these are brought to market and trade on an exchange, an unregulated exchange. Okay, I totally get that. I know Coinbase. I've watched Coinbase's quarterly reports for the last 8 quarters. I know what the hell's going on. I know what trading revenue means. I know declining of trading revenue in Bitcoin and what that means. So don't come on here and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm not. And Zoran, you're changing your tune here, my friend. When you're saying that BTC is not Celsius, excuse me, but people had BTC Bitcoin in there and they can't get it out. 1.5 million. And these comments that I don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. You know what? Maybe it's okay if I don't know what I'm talking about with Bitcoin, because I don't want to be part of the camp of the 1.5 million that have lost my shirt. Anyway, AJ, let's keep moving.
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, I know you personally, Alex, and you definitely know what you're talking about. And people who do not know Alex, he's a
Did I lose AJ? Anyway, yes. Okay, let's have a look here. Let's have a look here. Just the last comment here. Can you guys still hear? I think I lost AJ. Let's hope his boss didn't walk in and see him live streaming again. Just going to watch the comments here. I don't know if I've lost the stream or where we are here. AJ, you still there? 1 sec. I don't know if AJ is. Yeah, I think we lost AJ, guys. So we're going to come back to him in a moment. But let's just move on here. See you. Okay, so we're talking about inflation today, and there's something that I wanted to bring up to you guys. And thank you for listening to my rant on the stream today. I appreciate it. It's just I really get upset when I see people talking and saying that people are clueless because they don't believe in maybe a product they're pushing or a product that they so dearly love. I think when you get into investments, you always have to do your due diligence. I didn't get to Monte Carlo, by not knowing what I've done. I did a lot of research and a lot of investing and trying to really to get to the bottom of how to make money in these markets. The quick, fast way of doing it. Some people get rich quick. That's great for them. They pull their credits off the table and they make money and they move on. But we have to be careful that when we're talking about these things, that many people, and that's great, Zoran, you've been trading for 20 years. Maybe you could give the Celsius guy a little bit of advice, or the 1.5 million people that didn't listen to you that lost $25 billion.
Hey, Alex, sorry about that.
Hi, thank you for coming back. So when it comes to trading, I think that people that have platforms that are pushing this cryptocurrency, just like Kim Kardashian has been fined recently for doing it, you have a responsibility. If you have a big audience and you are pushing this stuff and you are promoting it, you should follow the rules and regulations of the Security and Exchange Commission, that you should disclose your interests. You should disclose what you are being compensated for pushing these types of products. But normally you can't because they're unregulated, and they're unregulated for a reason. And what is the fear for the regulation? Well, yes. So what I'm trying to say is you have a responsibility. And just because you are lucky or you manage to, survive, a collapse of another trading exchange or another crypto bank or another coin, that's great. But think about all the victims that this has pulled down or changed. There's a reason why they call it a Ponzi scheme. There's a reason why. And I'm not saying that it's Bitcoin, or anything like that. But it has to do with being responsible. And one thing that really annoys me is watching content creators on YouTube spewing this about coins. I mean, when I first started seeing it come out on the markets, I just said, where's these guys' disclaimer? Of course, these guys are getting paid to push this. Where is it? Bitcoin was everywhere, all over the place. And this is what, here's the problem, is when we are seeing financial markets fall off, yes, there's going to be an elderly couple. You're going to hear the story, guys. You're going to hear a lot of these stories. An elderly couple was told that, they didn't make enough money on their pension or whatever, that maybe they should put it into, a cryptocurrency. Okay. With no protection, nothing like that. They invest their money. Let's say it went down, I don't know, from the high, 66% drop. There's all these problems that happen. And I agree, Atlanta Bill, SEC is a joke. They can only do so much, and they only have civil powers. They only have civil powers to fine people. But the Department of Justice should do a lot more on this. You know what? If the cryptocurrency business, I'm not salty. I don't miss out, my friend. Anthony, I'll see you on the derivatives market, on the S&P market tonight. That's where I'll be. But no, when it comes to this kind of stuff, there should be some regulations because a lot of people get hurt. That's all I'm saying. You guys can trade crypto until the cows come home for the next 100 years and you make money on it. I'm more than happy to pat you on the back. But it's the victims that get dragged down here. This is just one example I brought here. And when you're in a market with hyperinflation, what we're talking about on the program today, it's devastating. It's devastating that people are going to try, AJ, go out there and try to find a quick buck. And the thieves are waiting there for them.
Yeah. I mean, this is the time. This is the most time when people are vulnerable because they've got bills to pay. They've got to make a quick buck. So people are desperate. Sometimes they give away their last piece of savings for a quick buck, and they end up getting burnt. And the thing is, there's never a true thing about easy money. You gotta work hard for it, and you got to do it. Making money is a long-term goal. There is no such thing as a short-term way of making money. If somebody says this is an easy way to make money, it normally means they are just trying to take your money or something.
I'm still reading some of the comments. There are no victims in traditional markets. Laughing. Of course, there's victims in traditional market, but what does that mean? If they were defrauded by someone should go to jail. Okay, someone should go to jail. Enron, people lose money on Enron. Yep. Did you see the sentence that Mr. Skilling got from Enron? 25 years in prison. Yeah. Okay. The Department of Justice, I'm not saying that they are perfect, but they try to keep these markets as credible they try as possible. But that's not a really way to argue by saying, well, some of the other financial markets are crooks too. No, people get held accountable for it. And it's a pretty, this is what worries me. When we get into these markets, you're going to see more of this stuff come out, and people are going to be screaming for it. Yes, we just had this on the program. Oh, right. All those bankers went to jail in 2008. No, not one of them did go to jail. Not one single person went to jail over that. But did it change the banking business to what it is today? You better believe it. The rules and regulations, the stress tests that come into the banking, the fiscal responsibility, new laws like FINRA. Get educated. Look what FINRA is. Check that out. Check what the fiduciary duties of publicly traded companies are. Look at the fines, the penalties, the bank laws that have changed around the world, around the globe. Bank secrecy has changed in the last few years. No one's saying that financial markets are perfect, but the scams are going down much less, and the headlines are taking over about the cowboys that are in the market. That's all I got to say, is I just have a beef against scam artists out there that are ripping people off and getting away with it. Will this Mazinski guy go to jail? I hope so. But maybe he won't. Yeah, anyway. Over to you, AJ.
No, that's it. I think we've just reached 2.5 hours, so let's cut the conversation. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Last words? I think we've talked about the hyperinflation, and we've talked a lot about shares as well. I think that's it, really. I just want to thank all the moderators and everyone that's listening, and everyone that's been asking questions as well. I mean, end of the day, don't be shy, guys. Ask away. I mean, end of the day, we are here to answer your questions. If you want to come on the show, in the future, you're welcome to call us, and we can get you on. There's no problem. We're here to have an open discussion. We appreciate a lot of people who have different views. That's what we're here for, to have an open discussion. I'm
going to buy Bitcoin as soon as the show's over. I'm going to buy Bitcoin. I'm going to buy $20,000 in Bitcoin as soon as the show's over, AJ, because I've been told I'm going to eat my words. So why not? Let's see. Let's see.
I'm staying away from Bitcoin. I'm just happy with my normal wage slip every end of the month, government pay slip. Even that's coming to an end, but we'll see how it goes. But I just want to thank all the viewers. I just want to thank everyone that's been listening, asking questions, the people that come on every single week listening to us chat away. Really appreciate it, guys. And I want to thank you all. Keep coming, keep doing what you're doing. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share. I really appreciate the support. Over to you, Alex.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll head out with some nice music, and we'll let the audience chat with each other. Guys, it's always good to get into these conversations. Let's get to the bottom of all these world issues that are happening, whether it's a market that is riddled with inflation, whether it's a discussion, an open discussion, a little bit of a rant from me on Bitcoin. Why the hell not? We're here to entertain you guys.
It's all good. I mean, if everybody notices other live shows, nobody's going to have a discussion like we do. I mean, we are actively answering questions. We are engaging with you guys. If you go onto other major channels and you put your questions out, how often do you think these hosts will answer your questions? None whatsoever. So, we are here, we are engaging with you. Whether you agree with us or not, we are here to talk. So it's all good.
Guys, you've been great. We're going to leave the music on so you guys can chat amongst yourselves. And I'm looking forward to you guys giving me some cryptocurrency advice in the comment box. You guys take care. From AJ and I, we'll see you guys soon, okay? All right, take it easy.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.